Guys, and welcome back to the shed. Okay, I'm just doing a wee video now on priming oil pressure. Now, as you can see, I've fitted a gauge to the motor. Rebuild motor, always put a gauge on it. We need to know what's going on. Never trust in the oil light. It'll probably kick in at about 7 pound, and at that stage, pressure's pretty low. Now, being a 325, it's got the oil cooler on this one, so there's a couple of lines that go into the oil filter housing. Now, you want to drop those lines, power flush the cooler. Or for worst case scenario, if the cooler's full of debris, bits of metal or whatever, you'll be replacing it with new. Okay, with that done, motor's built, all fitted, oil's in the motor. Now a couple of parts to show and tell. So here's a picture of an oil pump I've got that's open. Now look at the oil pump, it's got a drive shaft that's spun by the intermediate shaft gear. And that then intermediate shaft from there is driven by the cam belt. Now that spins clockwise and in turn turns these gears. That gives us an oil flow through the pump. Now, what we're going to do with the priming of the oil pressure is we're going to run this drive shaft and prime oil pressure without turning the motor over. Now to achieve that is with the Motronic 1.3 variants. On the side of the block you'll see a round sort of aluminium disc or a cap. We have a plate on the top of it. Unbolt that plate and then take this piece out, and then take the oil drive gear out, which I've already done. Now, on Jetronic variants, it'll be a bit different. You'll have a distributor there, so you'll need to mark your timing, etc., and remove the distributor. Now, care needs to be taken, because below it is that drive shaft we just spoke about before. Now, looking at that drive shaft, there's a couple of plastic washers. Now, these washers do tend to deteriorate over time, and I've seen some that are missing. Now, if they're not there, what can happen when you pull a distributor out is you may inadvertently pull that out at the same time, and then this piece will fall into the pan. Okay, so just take a bit of care with that and just be ready for it if it does happen. You may either have to get some magnets to fish it out, or worst case take the pan off. Okay, right, so once we've got it all open, what we're going to do now is we get an extension. We get a few extensions and a cordless drill. Now that hex is 6mm, so a 6mm hex single six-sided socket onto extensions. Now I just use a bit of electrical tape all those joins and socket onto the extensions. So the reason why I do that is the last thing we want is if it was to fall off, it could fall down inside the motor and then you'd have a hell of a task getting it back out. Right, so the next step would be a cordless drill, and at the same time put this in. So you'd fit that socket into that drive shaft like so. Set the drill to run clockwise. Now you need to support this. You don't want it flopping around because the top of that drive shaft is no longer supported. So just care with that. Running it at a low speed and not getting too carried away. You'll feel it's sort of freewheel for a little while. And then you'll feel pressure build up and it'll start to resist. A bit of resistance will happen. And at the same time you can watch the oil pressure gauge and you'll see pressure start to go up in the gauge. Now if you want to get clever and if you want to see you've actually got oil flow, what you can do then is either take off the rocker cover, or you could just lift the cap and then have a look inside with a torch and watch the oil spray bar and see if the cam has been fed oil. So at that point we'll know that it's got oil flow, oil pressure, it's pre-primed, and pretty much the next step would be to reassemble those items back into the block, put the airbox back in and the air intake elbow, and start our run-in procedure. Okay guys, thanks for watching.